Hello, welcome back to The Road to Episode 8, my ongoing series where I chart the road to the release of Star Wars Episode 8 on the 14th of December 2017, at least here in Norway. We don't have much to talk about in this one, but it's a pretty big one, I think. We now have confirmation, and this happened quite a while ago, maybe a month ago in fact, but we have confirmation, finally, that John Williams is returning to score Episode 8, and I couldn't be more excited about it. He announced it himself during an event that he was doing. He does these events and goes around and plays his music and things like that, and he said, producer Kathy Kennedy called me from Disney Studios a few weeks ago, would you like to do the new Star Wars? And I said, well, yes, I think I would, but the honest truth is I don't want anyone else to write music for Daisy Ridley. So in a few weeks I will receive a first viewing of Episode 8, and we'll see who Rey's father is. We'll find out, you know, and it was kind of a rough recording of what he was saying. So by this point, John Williams has probably seen a rough cut of Star Wars Episode 8 and is probably already formulating in his mind what he's going to do with the score. Now, he's not going to start scoring for a while, I would imagine, at least until way into 2017. So, fingers crossed, we're going to get another John Williams score. I'm so excited about this. I think that the work he did in Episode 7 is so underrated. A lot of people said that it was an okay score. I said it was an okay score when I first saw the film. I was a little disappointed that there wasn't anything as kind of iconic. There wasn't these new great themes. But of course there fucking was. I was just so wowed by everything that was going on I couldn't really pay attention to the music. I think that the Episode 7 score is incredible. I love Kylo Ren's theme. I think Rey's theme and all of its variants, as I've said before, is one of the best Star Wars themes, you know, of the whole saga. I love Rey's theme. I love the theme at the end when we see Luke. It just loads of little bits. It's just he put together such a great score for this film, and it's just amazing to me. This guy in his 80s is still cranking out these incredible scores. I really do feel like he should have won the Oscar this year. You know, it was great to see him and Ennio Morricone there. That was a great Oscar moment, but you know, Morricone, you know, again, I guess that was kind of like a Lifetime Achievement Award for Morricone, one of the greatest of all time, and John Williams has won Oscars and things like that. But I do feel like it was a better score, Episode 7, and so it is what it is. But I'm really excited about it, you know, to see what else John Williams has got left in the tank, you know, and also to see him revisit the themes that he's kind of created and crafted in this first installment of the sequel trilogy. And, you know, it sounds horrible, but I almost feel like, you know, saying to Disney, well, not that I could, but, you know, theoretically just saying to Disney, look, just get him to write as much music as he possibly can. Tell him what happens in Episode 9 and get him to start writing music for that as well, because you never know. This guy is very old. He had health issues, you know, when he was scoring Episode 7. He was in his mid-80s. And I would hate it if he didn't get to kind of complete the trilogy, or even if he didn't get to do Episode 8, who knows, but it's really important to me that he gets to finish this, you know, to kind of, what a legacy that would be. I mean, he has a legacy that is untouchable as it is. Just think about all the films that he scored. We talked about this before, but to kind of do that 9 block of films that span over 40 years, and you know, and I think the scores for the prequels are phenomenal as well. Definitely you know, one of the best things about those films is the score. And you know, you go to the original trilogy, it's just some of the best stuff ever written for movies. So I'm really excited that he's coming back. I was hoping that he would be, and he seems interested. I love that he said he doesn't want anyone writing new music for Daisy Ridley. That's kind of fun. Maybe we'll see some new variants of Rey's theme, and maybe a progression of that, or a new one. So yeah, music-wise, Episode 8 is looking like it's going to be really, really strong, and I'm really excited about that. That's about it, really. I've kind of come to the end of. Well, no, I tell you what, I'll throw in something else for you here. A little mini review. I just decided to do this off the top of my head. The new Star Wars DLC just came out last week, the Death Star for Star Wars Battlefront, and I've played it to death, and I absolutely love it. I have some problems with it. You have 3 new modes, well, 3 new modes, but you have 3 modes you can play on Death Star maps. I think there's 5 new Death Star maps. We've never seen Death Star maps in the game before, and we finally got space battles. You know, we got Rogue Squadron. We can fly around the trench run and shoot people down. We can go inside the Death Star and just have a team deathmatch, or we can do Battle Station, which is the 3-part epic where you have to take down this Star Destroyer and shoot down like the ball shields on the side, like you've seen in like Return of the Jedi and stuff. Destroy just the Star Destroyer. Take down the Star Destroyer, and then you go to a second stage where you're on the Death Star. You've got to get R2 from one end to the other, and you can play as R2, which I did the other night, which was really cool. Didn't realize you could do it, and it just kind of happened, and it was awesome. And then the third stage is the actual trench run, where you're not just shooting people down, you actually get assigned to be one of the pilots to go down into the trenches, and there's bits of it that are from the second Death Star, going inside it, going through these trench tunnels, and then finally you get to torpedo the whole thing. It's amazing. I've never done it. I've been trying to do it, but I've yet to be the guy to actually destroy the Death Star, but it's something I'm really kind of hoping to do as I keep playing the game. The one thing I don't like though is how there's a playlist. So if I want to play the Team Deathmatch inside the Death Star, I'll select that, I'll get to play one game, and then it'll put me into Battle Station, the big mode. I don't want to do that, you know, and so you can't just stay in one mode and kind of play the thing that you like, and so it really bugs me. And there's been issues where the loading just takes forever, and then you load into a game that's just finished, and then you have to get loaded into another one that you don't even want to do, and you have to go back again and exit, and you're spending 10 minutes doing essentially nothing. But the design is great. We get to play as Bosk, we get to play as Chewbacca. Chewbacca isn't that good, he's quite slow and lumbering, but it's fun nonetheless. I got to play Han on the Death Star during Battle Station, and Chewie was there, so I ran over to Chewie and I was like, come on Chewie, let's take him on, and that was a real fun kind of moment. And just that trench run, it really is one of the coolest game experiences I've ever had, even if I didn't get to do it. I almost got there, and I got Luke. They've added Luke's X-Wing into the game that you can play during the trench run. They've added Vader's ship from A New Hope, which is really cool as well. There's probably some purists out there who kind of cringed at me calling it A New Hope. So yeah, it's a great mode. I mean, it just looks incredible. Running around the corridors of the Death Star is just, and going to the trash compactor. You know, all these little details they put in from the movies, it's just phenomenal. So the Death Star DLC for me gets full marks. I've absolutely loved this new DLC. I wish there was more. You know, I wish we had more modes that we could play, because the maps are just great, but it's pretty cool. And yeah, it's interesting, because like way back in the road to episode 7, I think, I was kind of saying, oh yeah, there's this new Battlefront game coming out, I'm not that interested in it, and now it's like one of my favourite things ever. Now, finally, we're going to close things out with, not news, but just a sad story. It happened quite a few weeks ago. Another Star Wars death, a big one this time, unfortunately. It was Kenny Baker, who played R2-D2, and was also slated to be Wookiee the Ewok in Return of the Jedi, but he was ill, and that's where Warwick Davis stepped in. But he played R2-D2 throughout the original trilogy, in I think episode 1, and I think episode 2 and 3 he was just a consultant, and maybe they just put him in, you know, just for old time's sake, because he was credited, but I don't think he did any real work on episode 2 and 3. And with episode 7 he was credited as a consultant, which I thought was a really nice, classy move, and so he got to kind of see the next generation start with episode 7, so that's kind of cool. But he did pass away, very old, you know, and he was doing the convention circuits a lot. I've seen him multiple times in my life. Like one time, literally, I went to a wrestling training session in a leisure centre in Newport, Wales, and there was kind of a net in this big hall. So one side of the hall I was there wrestling and bumping on mats, and on the other side of this net in the same hall was this mini Star Wars convention. Saw some stormtroopers walk by, and we were like, these aren't the wrestlers you're looking for. And then we went in when it got quieted down and not many people, everyone had left, and there was just a few people there. Like the actress who played Mon Mothma was there, and Kenny Baker was there, and kind of got to see him a little bit. And then also I went to London Film and Comic Con in 2011, and I got to meet him and get my DVD signed of episode 4. And I really regret that meeting, because I didn't really chat to him. You know, I didn't know what to say, and this is a guy who's kind of been in the films of my childhood, you know, and played such an integral role in that, in one of these amazing characters that he brought to life in a very unique way. And I really do regret now that I didn't chat to him and just kind of have a little conversation. It wasn't busy, you know, I really could have done it, but I just wanted to get my DVD signed and that and move on to someone else, and I really regret that now. It kind of stings a little bit, I have to say, but you know, he soldiered on. I mean, I think he had health issues, but he just kept going to conventions, always there for the fans to meet them and everything, so he will definitely be missed. A proper Star Wars legend, and very sad to hear of his passing. So I just wanted to kind of mention that and kind of give him a name check, because definitely he is someone who will always be remembered, always. When I was a kid and I had my first kind of VHS of Star Wars, I always remember reading the back of the VHS, and it had kind of like Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker and all this. But what I was really interested in was the droids. You know, Anthony Daniels, the guy. This is the guy who plays C-3PO. Kenny Baker. He's a guy who actually is inside R2-D2, and I'll never forget that childhood memory. And so he will live on in everyone's minds and hearts for forever, you know, as long as we're around and movies are around. So there we go. I just wanted to mention Kenny Baker. I'm very sad to hear of his passing, but a life lived well, you know, and again, he had quite a long life, but it was what it was, obviously, and he passed away. So there we go. That was my little tribute to Kenny Baker. I hope it was okay. It's always kind of awkward and difficult to do that sometimes, but sometimes, you know, you just kind of have to do it. Well, I do. I feel like I have to. When I'm doing a series like this, which is Star Wars related, and we keep moving forward and covering all this news, I feel like that was a vital thing that I needed to touch on and kind of, out of respect, mention. So there we go. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.